All right. You want to quit your job. I feel you. You know what? I don't like jobs. I never have. I'm not sure if I ever will. And honestly, I don't think jobs are bad. Let me not bash 9 to 5s. It's the culture of 9 to 5s where you got to always ask permission to eat or use the bathroom or be sick or take care of your kid or just do anything. Like, I think jobs wouldn't be so bad if they weren't just so damn controlling and they just allowed you to live your life like a regular human being and you just do what you need to do when you need to do it. But no, you get written up for coming in a minute late. You get written up for who knows whatever. Then people don't like you. Your managers don't like you, blah, 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 right? So you want to quit. I get it. Been there, done that, right? I've done it about several times, right? But you're going to need a couple things, right? I've done this right and I've done this wrong a couple times. And so let me just say this. You need 3 things. You need a plan. You need a skill. And obviously you need some money, right? The skill gets you your money. But let me tell you what I mean. What I mean by a plan, I don't necessarily mean some written out, extravagant, complicated plan. All I mean is you need a plan for having enough money for at least a couple of months to make sure that you can last without a job, okay? Because if you don't have a job, you need to get your income from somewhere. And I'm assuming you want to get your income from somewhere else besides a 9 to 5, which means you're doing something, your own business, you're selling your own products, you're selling your own services, you're whatever, right? Here's what I'm going to suggest. For a plan, you need 6 months of monthly expenses. Now, that's a lot of months, okay? And that usually involves you knowing that you're going to leave your job or you know you're going to quit months ahead of time. And sometimes you don't have that, okay? So let's just say 3 months. That means if you know you need $3,000 in expenses, or you look on your bank and it says you spend about $3,000 a month, $2,000 a month, whatever you spend per month, you need to multiply that by 3 and have in a savings account, a checking account, bank account somewhere. Okay? You got to have that because I want you to think about money like time. Money is time. So if you have $2,000 in your account, you have 1 month's worth of time. If you got $4,000 and you have $2,000 a month in expenses, you have 2 months of time. I want you to get out of the idea of thinking about money as being used to buy things and think about money as a value of time. How many weeks, how many days, how many months would this bucket of money last you, right? Real talk, it's like honestly what retired people do, but you're going to do it now, okay? So you need a plan. And by plan, I mean you need 3 to 6 months of money in your account. You need to plan for your expenses. You can have a more complicated plan. We'll talk about that later. But what you really need is some money, okay? A plan, emergency funds, 3 months worth of expenses in your account. 2, you need a skill, right? We talked about this before. You don't need a job. You need a skill, right? You need something that you can do that you can sell directly to other people, right? And by that, I mean, if you do photography, if you do sewing, if you do plumbing, if you can fix someone's air conditioner, you can fix someone's furnace, you can fix someone's, I don't know, you can set up their home speakers. It doesn't matter what you do, right? It would be helpful if the thing that you are talented at, that you like doing, that you're interested in doing is in demand, but it doesn't necessarily mean you should rule something out just because it's not super popular. You can make what you do work. For me, it was photography and video. I already had the equipment. I already like doing that stuff. That's why I chose that. But you don't have to do that. You can do something different. Do something you like. The odds are you've done something for someone, charged them money, or they've given you money. And so if that has ever happened, if you've ever done something for somebody and they gave you money for it, guess what? You're somewhat of a professional, okay? That means if you cut anyone's grass, you cut anyone's hair, you get my point, right? So if you have a skill like that or a talent like that, develop that skill to where it is more professional, okay? Here's why I suggest doing that versus running to Uber Eats or running to DoorDash or running to Lyft. Because if you think about it, if you hate a 9-to-5 because they force you to do things you don't want to do, you're probably you're also going to hate the gig economy where you're doing shopping and Uber Eats and all that stuff, because it's kind of the same thing. It's just no benefits, right? Sure, you can log on whenever you feel like it, but it's the same thing. Like, you're just doing a bunch of work and they give you a cut. They give you a paycheck. They make it seem like it's your own thing, but it's not. It's not. It's like all the work involved in having your own business and selling your own skills directly to people without any of the benefits, man. It's like a job where you can clock in when you want. That's the only difference. It's a job. You leave one 9-to-5, you go to another thing where it's just you clock in when you feel like it. That's it. That's the only difference. It would be better if you had had a skill that you could use to sell directly to people, right? All right. And again, whatever you got to do to develop that skill, do that. Go to barber school, get online, get a certification. Pretty much everyone's offering a certification right now. Do not go to a college, okay? I don't mean go to a college. Don't get another degree. Do not get in debt getting another degree. Get a certificate. Certificates are usually $2,000 or less. Use that certificate to then qualify yourself to get more professional work. You get what I'm saying? All right. Now, so you got a plan. You got 3 to 6 months of money. You have a skill, all right? Actively develop that skill while you're working and when you're not working, right? When you're working for someone else and when you're not, study your skill and get better. 3, you need some money, okay? Now, we talked about this before, but it's not the same as your emergency fund. You need income. That's what I mean, income. You're going to use your skill to make income, right? Now, this is the hardest part, and this is the scariest part. And trust me, I've been there. It is scary. Like earlier, we talked about you having expenses of $2,000. Let's just say $3,000. It's 2024. Ain't nobody spending $2,000 a month. $3,000 a month, right? If you sew or sing or whatever you do, you're probably not charging $3,000 per time you do it, right? You're not charging $3,000 to sing at someone's birthday party, right? So that's the hardest thing. It's the hardest transition to go from having a job that pays you a paycheck to now charging people for what you do and then getting money for it and then trying to make that equal $3,000. But I want you to think about it a little differently, okay? For example, if you need $3,000, you're not looking to sell your service one time for $3,000. I want you to think about it like selling your service 10 times for $300 each, okay? So in my case, I did video and photography. What I would want to do is try to find 10 $300 gigs per month. That gave me my $3,000, okay? Right? But what if you're just starting, you don't have any experience? Okay, well then that means you need 20 $150 gigs per month, right? It's starting to sound like a lot of work, and it is a lot of work, but it's starting to sound doable, I hope, right? You got 30 days in a month, 20 days. Basically, you take the weekends off, you take 10 days off, but 20 of them days, you need to make $150 per day. How do you find the work? Ask your friends, tell them what you're doing, tell them you're sewing, tell them you're singing, tell them you're doing plumbing, tell them whatever it is you do for money, cutting grass, raking leaves, it does not matter, right? Again, just try to avoid the Uber Eats and all the stuff involving your phone, like the gig stuff, right? Do it yourself, Charge them directly, and that way you get 100% of the money as opposed to getting some kind of cut, right? So again, let's say it's $150, 20 times a month. That gets you your $3,000. That's what you need to focus on, right? Getting your skills up to the level where you can charge more per day or more per occurrence, right? So if you're cutting grass and you charge $75 a lawn, you need to do that twice a day. That gets you $150 for that day. You need to do that 19 more times, right? It seems like a lot of work, but what you do is either start adding more services or get better at your skill and now charge $100 an occurrence, $100 a yard, right? So now you get $200 a day, right? Again, the idea is start where you are, get better at your skill, charge more for your skill, figure out what everyone else is charging, get an idea. Like if someone else is charging $175 a yard and they got a whole crew and got trucks and everything, well, obviously you can't charge that much. But what you can do is try to slowly build up to that so that you can eventually start charging that much money, right? Now, of course, if you have a van and crews and stuff, you're going to have more expenses. But what I'm saying is focus on getting your skill to the level where you're now able to charge more money. And now you'll be able to raise your $3,000 minimum expense, the minimum income you need, right? You have $3,000 in expenses, $3,000 in income that you've hustled up. You will be at zero. But trust me, if you can get to zero, 3,000 in, 3,000 out, if you can get to zero, I promise you, that is like success. There's so many people out here running these little hustle businesses and they ain't making no money. Okay? So what I'm telling you is, if you can break even, that is a huge success. That is a huge success, man. Your job is to piece together as much money as possible to get you toward your minimum needs, right? Now, of course, if you can lower your expenses from $3,000 to like $2,500, maybe you get a roommate, maybe you do something else to lower your expenses, right? I'm not saying go live in a roach-infested apartment. I'm not saying live in a bad part of town. I'm not saying eating ramen noodles and stuff all day. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying don't move to an unhealthy environment and don't eat unhealthy foods. I'm saying whatever you can do to lower that. Now you don't have to work so hard. Okay? All right. We'll wrap it up here because it's going to get kind of long, but we'll continue this conversation. But again, the idea for quitting your job is you have to replace your income. You need the emergency fund, a plan to have money in the meantime when things get tight, right? Because your income's going to do this. Even if you're on YouTube and you start getting some money in, it's going to be like this, right? This is going to be your money for a while. When you have a job, it's like this. That's why people stay, because your money never changes. It's always constant, right? You may need it to be here, but it's always just under here, right? You can count on it. But once you start working for yourself, you're doing this. You need it to be here. You may be here. You may be here, right? That's why it's important to combine what you do for your hustle, your income, with your emergency fund. And when you dip into your fund, you have a bad month. When you have a good month, put the money back into your emergency fund. That way you always have 3 to 6 months worth of time. Without that time, you're going to freak out. And if you're married, you got a relationship, you got kids, trust me, that anxiety is real. That's why I got all this gray hair, right? It's stressful, but if it works and when it works, it's beautiful. And can't nobody tell you what to do, and you have no boss. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you this can work because I did it for 15 years. Nobody could tell me what to do. And if I didn't like somebody, I fired them. You get what I'm saying? Whether it was a contractor, or a vendor, or client I ain't like, I didn't have to pick up the phone. I could see that. I'm telling you, I would see their number. I would see their name pop up on my phone and proceed to not answer or just send a voicemail or block their number because I'm the boss, right? It's not that hard. You just have to switch your mindset to what money is and how it functions. Think of it more as a bucket of time It's a resource. It's not something you use to spend. It's not a spending thing. It's a resource you use to get what you want, right? You're going to buy your freedom. So don't leave a 9-to-5 and jump right into Uber. It's the same thing. It's worse. It's worse than a job. At least with a job, you get benefits. With Uber and Lyft, and I mean, you clock in when you want, but that's really the only difference, right? It sucks. Anyway, we'll hop back on another time with another topic, but I just wanted to give you a little nugget. All right. I'll be back. All right.